Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Witch at the Forest's Edge, 13 Keys to Modern Traditional Witchcraft by Christine Grace. Foreword by Corey Thomas Hutchison. Narrated by Leslie Howard. Foreword. Coming to the forest is a powerful experience for me. The trees rise high above my head, spreading out their branches to form a natural cathedral. All around me I feel the woods breathing, life spilling out from between roots and under rocks, the soft sigh of fungi and bacteria reclaiming fallen logs and creatures and bringing them back home into the soil. The forest is a place of wonder. Once, when heading to a crossroads for a nighttime magical working, I stopped suddenly, deeply aware that something was watching me from the edge of the forest. My breath hitched in my chest as I saw a deer, a stag, emerge from between the trees with tall, wide antlers like a crown on his head. He stood and watched me for a moment, and then, almost like a dream, he stepped backwards into the forest and disappeared, evaporating into the dark spaces between the bark and leaves. In another instance, my magical partner and I were doing some work in a small forest near our homes, and we had gotten a bit turned around. We turned off our flashlights and paused, asking for guidance or help. When we turned the lights on again, a juvenile deer stood there a few feet in front of us, then turned and led us in the direction we needed to go. The forest is a place of deep magic. That magic can be powerful and also frightening. It is always good to have a guide. Christine Grace's book sits in your hands now, the product of years of working within the various forests of witchcraft. Some are quite literal, as she lives the enviable life of a woodlands-dwelling witch in her log cabin with her wild witchlets. Some are forests deeper within us that can be even trickier to navigate than the wilderness of scrub pines and pioneer poplars. She is meeting you here at the edge of the forest to guide you deeper within, show you the path that she has marked, and teach you how to make your own trails and magic. I have been lucky enough to benefit from her guidance directly, as she has been a teacher, mentor, and friend to me for several years. Within the tradition of the forest's edge, learning magic and witchcraft comes through the practice of apprenticeship. We take our time, valuing the slow and thorough way that witchcraft opens up to us as practitioners, learning to navigate the hedge space between the worlds. We gain from one another's experience, help each other cross through the thresholds between the seen and unseen, and even occasionally sit in our kitchens sipping tea and swapping folk charms. This is witchcraft on a simmer, witchcraft that knits together stitch by stitch over time. Witchcraft that looks up through the trees in each season to see a different moon. This book will be like that, and you will have to do the work to gain the magic, sometimes pushing yourself or shifting into the shadows to learn how deeply enchantment can root. There is risk in the way we become witches in the forest's edge, but there is also reward. In fairy tales, going into the forest is often a transformative experience. Hansel and Gretel are abandoned by their parents, only to confront a wicked witch and overcome her cannibalistic plans. When they return home, an oft-forgotten element of the story involves Gretel summoning a duck to carry them both across the river, showing that her encounter with the witch may have left her with a few new skills of her own. Similarly, in the Slavic tales of Baba Yaga and Vasilisa, the young woman apprentices with the ancient witch, doing work for and with her, until finally she is freed to return home with a magical fire that incinerates her wicked stepsisters, plus the power to make cloth so fine it appears otherworldly, and probably is. We go into the forest to change ourselves, to grow and confront our fears. This book is also transformative. It is not meant to be something you simply read, but a text that prompts action, encounter, and change. Christine Grace offers you lessons to understand the land around you, whether it has actual forest or not. Learn to listen to intuition and use divination to expand your knowledge. Craft spells and rituals that will hold deep meaning for you, and follow in the tradition of hedge-crossing witches of the past, present, and hopefully future. Each section will also ask you to respond to questions with thought and effort, and to do specific work to put these lessons to use in your life. This is magic rooted in experience, in folklore, in history, in tradition, and, crucially, in change. What Grace gives you is more than just a path to follow. It is a full set of tools to mark your own trail past the forest's edge and into the wilderness of witchcraft. You will know the power of wild and holy places by the time you finish this book, and may even find some powerful magic growing in your home or just beyond your back door. This book can offer you so much, but will only take you part of the way. It asks you to do the work of witching, while keeping your feet steady as you cross the threshold into new and wildly enchanted landscapes. It is a beautiful book, and maybe even a slightly terrifying one, in the best possible way. I am so excited for you to listen to it, and so thankful you have Grace with you here as you cross into the deep, dark woods. Welcome to the forest's edge. Blessings to you upon your way. Corey Thomas Hutchison, author of New World Witchery. Introduction. I stand in the meadow at the forest's edge. One step forward, and I will straddle the boundary between fading light in the swaying grass and rich darkness in the woods. One more step, and I will be immersed in the nighttime world of southern hardwood forest. My home lies behind me, the wild magic ahead. I am the witch at the forest's edge. It could be that you are also a witch at the forest's edge. A witch at the forest's edge weaves magic from the between places. We are most at home between the realities of daily life and ecstasies of enchantment, between deadlines and drum beats, hearthstones and electric stoves, front steps and the forest deep. We are everywhere and nowhere. We are ancient and modern. We are domestic and wild. We are crooked, cockeyed, and quirky. We are rooted. We are powerful. Many witches seek a path of deep transformative magic and a way to be fiercely independent together. Modern traditional witchcraft is a broad term that speaks to the particularity of each witch, your own ecosystem of location, ancestry, identity, and influence. It speaks of spirit-led witches who see enchantment everywhere. It calls to those who are rooted in folklore and bioregion, and those who draw on the deep past to weave a modern path. This is my way, and the way of my tradition. It is what I have set out in this book as a framework for your own unique path. My route into this way of working has been winding, but over time my practice has grown, the magical community has grown, and the access we all have to information has blossomed into something previously unimaginable. The opportunities are wonderful, but the breadth and variety can become overwhelming. The aesthetics can compete with the practicalities, and as life carries on and responsibilities increase, many of us find our practices can fade for a season. Consider this book a skeletal framework to organize and ground your explorations in our busy times. The plethora of books, archives, articles, podcasts, videos, and social media feeds are tools to add flesh to the bones I've set out here. These chapters contain what I treat as the foundational ideas of my kind of modern traditional witchcraft. I didn't set out to write a book or stare at a screen willing the ideas to come. Instead, the book has grown from decades of real practice and teaching. I wrote it down, simply because it works. This is a demanding book and a demanding path. I often send listeners to do their own research and experimentation on sundry topics of interest, but such is a way of witchery that honors the authentic ties of each individual to region and ancestry. It is easier to be told and harder to do. But we all know witchcraft is work. Powerful, satisfying work. The Forest's Edge Tradition. The ideas in this book are an invitation to all the animists, ancestor worshippers, magic seekers, and wild at heart. They are also foundational to a small initiatory tradition of witchcraft called the Forest's Edge that I co-founded in 2011. We emerged from the leadership of an earlier tradition and founded our new venture on ideals of inclusive broad leadership within a green, animist, shamanic, and traditional path. We strive for deep transformative practice combined with thoughtful mediation of group dynamics. The Forest's Edge tradition is guided by a council and 2 co-leaders, of which I am one. Our initiates share an individualized method of teaching and a relationship with an egregore, the living spirit of the tradition. Many witches find their way to us because they hunger for a thorough and accessible approach to traditional witchcraft with teachers who are experienced but not dogmatic. Unfortunately, the interest from the broader community outstrips our initiates' availability to teach and mentor. This book aims to meet that need in a new way. The tradition is not the book, and vice versa, but know that the contents of this book have been tested time and again through the work of the tradition. The essence of the Forest's Edge way is to honor the specificity of the individual while holding that each witch is fully themselves, only within the web of human and other relationships in which we live and have our being. Our way of witchcraft is not inherently religious, although all are encouraged to reflect on their relationship with the idea of gods. Some draw on the traditions of recent ancestors, such as Christian folk magic. Some reach back to the gods of the ancients, and still others remain agnostic. We are all united by the understanding that everything has a spirit, and the world is infused with magic. How to use this book. As a teacher, I work hard to teach in a way that allows both novice and experienced witches to refine and deepen their personal practices. This book strives to do the same. An experienced witch may skip many exercises or may be able to imagine their own, but I encourage experienced witches to find their growing edges and lean into them. A growing edge is the threshold between what is familiar and what is new. Identify something that feels challenging, interesting, or novel, and go deep. Read widely, reflect, and practice. If you disagree with me, consider writing me a letter as a journaling exercise to refine and sharpen your position, or discuss it with a witch you know. One of the glories of teaching, apprenticing, and being part of a tradition is being able to bounce ideas around. For some solitary practitioners, journaling and online discussion may be your best means. For the newer practitioner, know that newness does not equal inferiority or a lack of power. You are bringing your own knowledge, abilities, and background, and those are wonderful things. You and your world are already full of magic. I recommend listening to each chapter in order. I do rearrange the order of subjects for individual apprentices, but here I have presented the material in the way that is most helpful for newcomers. Alongside typical witchy skill sets of spellcraft, divination, and ritual observances, you will find that this book treats hedge riding, spirit flight, or shamanism, and ritual possession as essential teachable skills. And alongside the typical witchy love of plants and gardens, you will find tools to connect to your local wild ecosystem no matter where you live. After an overview of a witchy worldview, we'll explore spirit work and jump right into the concept of spiritual ancestry, because your own sense of connection to history will guide your choices through the later chapters. Self-assessment. The first step toward the Forest's Edge is to consider where you are right now. It is much easier to choose goals for your practice and to find opportunities for growth after some self-reflection. Whether you are impressively experienced or an uncommitted explorer, the goal is not self-judgment, but an accepting awareness. Just notice what is true for you right now. Think through the answers, journal, or discuss with a friend. 1. Consider your previous craft-related study. Do you have particular areas of expertise or interest? What are the sources of your learning so far? Direct experience, books, teachers, groups? What learning experiences have or have not worked for you? Why? 2. Reflect on your current personal and communal practice. Do you practice solitary? With a group? Does one way dominate the other? Is your practice spontaneous? Scheduled? What do you love about it right now? What could be different? 3. What are your strengths as a witch? 4. What are your gaps, weaknesses, or places for growth as a witch? 5. How do you think listening to this book can help you address the gaps in your praxis, the recurrent cycle of practice and reflection through which we all grow, and make the most of your strengths? 6. What are your goals for your practice of witchcraft? 7. How would you describe your learning style? Do you learn best by doing new things? By reading? Through conversation? 8. What kind of witch are you? This question is intentionally vague. Answer it in any way that resonates with you. Welcome to the forest's edge. May your way be enchanted and your power extraordinary. 1. Worldview and spirituality. The world is enchanted, filled with the whisperings of spirits. We witches are alive in a vibrant world, and we find meaning and power in our relationships with all beings. Our form of spirituality is a living relationship with spirits, the animating, dynamic, sacred essences within all things and beyond. Wonder, mystery, and sacredness coexist with and inhabit our perception, from the most mundane to the most extraordinary aspects of our lives. As witches of the forest's edge, we work unabashedly and intensely with real magic, and we are profoundly shaped by our craft. This chapter has a theoretical bent, while many of the others speak more directly to the day-to-day doings of witchery. The point is not to bog down practice with navel-gazing, but rather to be transparent about some of the ideas that underlie the practicalities of subsequent chapters. The themes of enchantment, interconnectedness, and liminality are currents running throughout the book. The notion of a witch's spirituality is something that we do is reflected in my emphasis on practicality. Throughout, you will find a dynamic balance of pragmatism and deep understanding. Many witches are of a rational, bookish, and quite frankly, nerdy bent. We place a high value on science, critical thought, and careful discernment. Yet also, the immediacy of our experience tells us that there is more wonder than we can describe. We possess more agency than we would ever hope, and so do other beings. And as peculiar as it may seem to folks of a different worldview, our way of being can be intensely fulfilling to us, and living fully into it can be a profound homecoming. Enchantment. As Western culture moved toward modernity, we moved away from enchantment, or seeing the sacredness everywhere. With this movement, we have enjoyed the blossoming of science and the championing of critical thought. But for the most part, we have lost a world full of charm and mystery. We could treasure science, critical thinking, and secularism, and also a worldview of connection and enchantment. But here we are in a world where wonder is called childlike and dismissed as immature. How much more could the world flourish if we let the freedom and understanding of rationality breed wonder, humility, and relationship? The truth is that we humans have never been good at being modern, even in the most westernized regions of the world. We've never believed with our whole hearts that only humans are conscious and that the cosmos is a spiritless machine. We've never really all decided that there is no way of sensing beyond the ordinary senses, and that we've never truly existed beyond the reach of enchantment. Right now, people are talking to their cats, feeling that a certain tree is a particularly good place beneath which to rest, and wearing lucky socks. Instead of being an antidote to this problem, too much of modern religion drains wonder from the world. When religion becomes a matter of belief in disembodied religious ideas and moral purity, then it does not matter at all if a religious person lives in the world as if they appreciate the sacredness in ordinary life. But we witches shake off religion as purity of belief. We shake off the twisting of science into a tool for dominion. We embrace the sacredness, the wonder, and the magic of everyday life. We embrace enchantment. Interconnectedness. A peculiar thing happens when we embrace enchantment. Enchantment lends itself to seeing the real, the personal, the active, and the intentional everywhere. We start to see the ways in which we have mistakenly treated ourselves as the most real beings, the center of the world, while acting as though the rest of the world is just made of things. This self-centering does have use in magic, to help us fully appreciate our power and connectedness, but it is a metaphor for our agency, or our ability to do things. We do this self-centering in relation to other humans, and also to other than human parts of the cosmos, and not as though it applies only to us. While it may seem like a powerful superiority, this self-centeredness is not only harmful to others, but also leaves us feeling isolated and powerless. So many of us mostly interact with other humans and with the creations of humans. We develop the sickness of separation from nature. It is a painful delusion to think we are separate. We witches of the forest's edge seek to find our place within the world, not on a pedestal above it. And indeed, to be fully immersed in the world is to be powerful, not because you seek to dominate, hoard, and exploit, but because you are a sovereign doer among doers, working with the strength of those relationships. It is easy to slide back into the self-centering habit of treating others as objects, tools, or mirrors of the self. As witches, we strive to engage with others as a spirit in relationship with another spirit, nature to nature, or person to person. Following from this way of seeing all beings as real, personal, and active, we draw on the ways that we are interconnected with all of these spirits. All things are interrelated, and we work with this when doing magic. This is not because of a god that connects or contains everything, but simply because the nature of nature is ecological interconnectedness. Perhaps it is strange to use a term from science, ecology, to describe spirituality, but I don't think it is odd for a witch. It is an apt way to conceptualize our relationships with others. Ecology has an etymology that lends itself to a poetic understanding. Eco comes from the Greek oikos, meaning home, or to go back even earlier to the Proto-Indo-European pi root, it means clan. Linguists have reconstructed Pi as a common ancestor language to many modern languages, including English. Meanwhile, Logi has a richer history than just study of. It means word or speaking. From the Pi root, it means to gather. So, with ecology, we are speaking of home, we are gathering with our clan. Allow yourself to be gathered home, nestled in with your more than human kin, so that the world can become enchanted before your eyes. We are most fully human when we are at home as one part of nature on earth. Accepting your place as one piece within the natural world is glorious, but not easy. It requires a sacrifice of the ideals of human society that hold us up as more than nature. And as part of nature, we are part of systems that can be dangerous and bloody. But that doesn't mean we're victims. We are doers. And witches are dangerous too. This sense of connection and appreciation for other than human beings locates the witch as a self in community with others. But it does not deny the specificity of any person, human or otherwise. Liminality. Witches are threshold dwellers. We are liminal, which means that we can be present on both sides of a boundary. It means we stand in a transformative space betwixt and between. That's what liminal means, and what it means to be at the forest's edge. By seeking the enchanting magic of relatedness to others while we embrace literacy, logic, science, and personal freedom, we often find ourselves at the edges of contemporary society. We are both logical and pursuing experience far beyond what could be explained by society's logic. We are also, in many ways, a tremendously normal bunch, with jobs, kids, homes, hobbies, and any number of other things that fill our lives, just like everyone else. But we can walk in both worlds and weave them together in the living of our lives. And as edge dwellers, we stand in good company with ancestors, whose magical practices set them just a bit apart from the rest of the community, and with the ecological edges between different habitats. Religion and spirituality in community. Likely it will come as little surprise that I, along with many witches, struggle with the concept of religion. If religion is primarily dogma, offering a strict list of required beliefs and crystal-clear do's and do-nots, then the practice of witchery set forth in this book is not about religion. Or if religion is primarily hierarchy, maintaining hard boundaries between those who are able to understand and connect directly with the sacred, and those who must follow only the ones with superior knowledge, then this is not about religion. Any conception of religion, and there are many, that creates an impenetrable barrier between this thing and that, or draws clear, comfortable lines between those who are in or out, cannot stand within the realm of the forest's edge. For we witches embrace a self-definition that places us on the boundary. We seek the immediacy of direct experience. We encourage diversity of thought and practice. We emphasize the specificity of an individual's craft and hold all initiates as equals. That said, if religion is a collection of ideas, practices, ethics, texts, and organizational systems that seeks to help connect humankind with the sacred or the spiritual, then indeed our variety of witchery is much like religion. On the subject of spirituality, in self-help or New Age publications, spirituality is often understood as your own relationship with your higher self, or the cultivation of a purer, less ego-driven inner self. In contrast, we would say that individual self-improvement is a product of powerful spiritual engagement, but not the end in itself. The witch's spirituality is about transformative magical relationship with spirit, the animating, dynamic, sacred principles within all things and beyond. And we have found this sort of spiritual pursuit to lend richness, wonder, and meaning to our lives. Spirituality in motion. It is one thing to give an intellectual assent to the ideas and practices outlined in this book, but will you do the work? Witchery is a practice, but if you are currently more of a reader than a doer, please don't be put off. We are all constantly growing in our practice, no matter how experienced, and it is always possible for a witch to start small or big and cultivate a deeply meaningful practice for themselves. In order to identify and develop perceptions of the sacred and the many influences at work in ourselves and our environment, we need both study and practice. Once a practitioner has actually experienced something that they learned or formed in study, it takes on new life and deeper meaning unique to that individual. Without study, we may not be inspired to practice with depth. Without practice, we cannot fully understand our study. As you continue on your journey of cultivating a dynamic spiritual practice, you will integrate or release aspects of previous spiritual practice, depending on how effective they are at enabling you to experience your relationship with the sacred now. You are the authority on what works specifically for you. But it's good to remember that easy is not the same as working, and difficult doesn't always indicate a mismatch. You are responsible for your spiritual path, and that path will grow and change as you grow and change. Although I have written of some slightly abstract ideological underpinnings in this chapter, your spirituality is not a matter of abstraction as a witch. It is a matter for the nitty-gritty of your life, and the shape it takes is uniquely yours. By various means, however eccentric, we carve niches to celebrate the spirits that fill our lives. We savor and cultivate connected moments in our busy days, and we open ourselves to the wonder and the holy terror of mystery. As you continue through this book.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?